June 11, 2026, and in the last 24 hours, the Persian Gulf has erupted into the most dangerous escalation since the 2026 Iran war began on February 28, a conflict that has already remade the geopolitical map of the Middle East. And tonight, the fuse is burning faster than anyone dared predict. It starts on the dark waters of the Strait of Hormuz on the evening of June 9th, when a United States Army AH-64 Apache helicopter, one of the most lethal rotary-wing gunships ever built, designed to survive hostile fire, armed to the teeth and crewed by two of America's most highly trained aviators, was on a routine patrol mission over those same international waters when an Iranian drone, likely a loitering munition from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps naval forces, caught it mid-flight and brought it down. And while both pilots survived, pulled from the sea by an unmanned American surface drone in one of the most remarkable rescue operations in recent memory, the craft itself crashing into the waters near the coast of Oman, the incident lit a powder keg that had been building for months. Because President Donald Trump took to Truth Social within hours and announced to the world that Iran had shot down one of his highly sophisticated Apache helicopters, that the United States must respond, and that response was already underway. And it would not be small, it would not be symbolic, it would be the full weight of American military power descending on Iranian soil once more. So at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on June 9th, U.S. Central Command officially announced the launch of self-defense strikes against Iranian targets near the Strait of Hormuz, and the statement was precise and deliberate, a proportional response to unjustified Iranian aggression, CENTCOM declared, with U.S. Marine Corps, Air Force, and Navy assets firing precision munitions on Iranian radar installations, air defense sites, ground control stations, and surveillance systems that had been actively tracking and threatening American forces and commercial shipping in the region. The USS Michael Murphy, a destroyer, was among the vessels launching Tomahawk cruise missiles in a volley of strikes that lit up the night sky over the southern Iranian coastline near the towns of Jask, Sirik, and Qeshm Island, that narrow geography that sits like a dagger at the throat of the world's oil supply. And Iran felt every strike. The IRGC acknowledged hits on a telecommunications tower, 2 water storage tanks, and multiple military positions, though they denied the full scale of American damage. But Iran did not sit quietly, and within hours of the first American salvos landing on Iranian soil, the IRGC mobilized for a counterstrike that spanned the entire arc of the Middle East theater, launching drones and ballistic missiles at no fewer than 3 American military bases across 3 different countries simultaneously, because this is how Iran fights, not with a single punch, but with a regional swarm designed to overwhelm, disperse, and exhaust American defenses across every front at once. The IRGC declared it had attacked the U.S. Fifth Fleet headquarters at the Sheikh Issa Air Base in Bahrain, the nerve center of American naval operations in the Persian Gulf, with drone strikes that triggered air raid sirens across the island nation and sent Bahraini and American air defenses scrambling into action. And they targeted Kuwait's Ali Al-Salem Air Base, a critical logistics and air operations hub that has served as a staging ground for American power projection throughout the region, again with drone swarms that Kuwait's military confirmed it was actively intercepting. And they launched what they described as long-range ballistic missiles at the Al-Azraq Air Base in Jordan, a facility that hosts American F-35 stealth fighter jets, the most advanced combat aircraft in the world, with the IRGC claiming they fired on 4 specific targets at that base, including F-35 fighter jet hangars and a command and control center, boasting they had destroyed critical American infrastructure, though Jordan's military pushed back hard and confirmed it had intercepted and shot down 5 incoming Iranian missiles headed toward Azraq, with the debris falling harmlessly on Jordanian territory and causing no casualties or material damage. Jordan's air defenses holding the line while the IRGC's propaganda machine churned out claims of spectacular success that did not survive contact with verified on-the-ground reporting. In total, the IRGC claimed it had struck 21 American targets across the region and destroyed 4 of them, a number that Western military analysts and regional governments viewed with deep skepticism. But the sheer audacity of attacking U.S. bases in 3 sovereign nations simultaneously in a single night of operations sent a message that Tehran was not backing down, that the ceasefire that had technically been in effect since April was now a hollow fiction, that Iran's military commanders believed they had no choice but to escalate or be seen as surrendering under American fire. And then, on June 10th, the second day of this renewed exchange, it got significantly worse. Trump sat with his national security team in the White House. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth confirmed that key facilities were being struck and refused to rule out attacking civilian infrastructure when pressed by reporters on whether such strikes would constitute a war crime, a statement that drew sharp international condemnation but reflected the raw escalatory logic driving American decision-making. And U.S. Central Command announced a second wave of strikes on Iran, describing hits on Iranian military surveillance capabilities, communications systems, and air defense sites throughout southern Iran, with American Marine Corps, Air Force, and Navy assets once again firing precision munitions, while CENTCOM's statement declared that U.S. forces remain vigilant, lethal, and ready, language crafted to signal that America was nowhere near finished. Iranian media reported new strikes landing near Manab and Sirik, right on the doorstep of the Strait of Hormuz, the geographic choke point through which approximately 20% of the world's seaborne oil and 20% of global liquefied natural gas flows. And Iran's response to this second wave of strikes was the most aggressive and consequential action Tehran had taken since the entire conflict began. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps posted on their official Telegram channel a declaration that sent global oil markets into immediate convulsion. Effective immediately, due to insecurity in the region, the Strait of Hormuz is declared closed to all vessels, including oil tankers and commercial ships. And they did not stop there. They added that any vessel attempting to transit the strait will be targeted, which was not a bluff, not a warning shot, not a diplomatic signal, but a published kill order on a waterway that J.P. Morgan and the EIA had already flagged as the single most critical maritime choke point on the planet. And the IRGC Navy immediately backed up its words with action, announcing that 2 oil tankers that had attempted to illegally pass through the Strait of Hormuz had been struck, confirming that Iran's naval forces were actively engaging commercial shipping and that the global energy supply chain was now a battlefield. CENTCOM immediately pushed back, posting on X that commercial ships are continuing to transit in and out of the Strait of Hormuz tonight, and that Iran's claim of total closure was false. And Trump took to Truth Social to declare that this wildly successful effort is because the United States of America controls the Strait of Hormuz, not Iran, a statement dripping with his characteristic maximalism, but also reflecting genuine American confidence that their naval and air assets were maintaining freedom of navigation against Iranian interdiction. The conflict between these competing claims creating a fog of war information environment where the truth of what was happening in those narrow waters in real time was unclear to everyone outside the immediate theater. And then, the overnight hours of June 10th into June 11th brought the third wave, because Iran was not done. And in the early morning darkness, IRGC forces launched another round of drone attacks targeting the Sheikh Issa airbase in Bahrain and both the Ali al-Salem airbase and Ahmad al-Jaber airbases in Kuwait, while simultaneously firing 12 ballistic missiles at the Al-Azraq airbase in Jordan. 12 missiles, a volley that represented an enormous expenditure of Iran's precision strike capability, and struck what they claimed were 2 more oil tankers attempting to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. And Bahrain activated air raid sirens twice during the night. Kuwait confirmed its air defense systems were intercepting hostile aerial targets, and the U.S. military reported intercepting Iranian missiles with no immediate reports of major damage or impacts at American facilities, a testament to the layered air defense architecture America and its regional partners had spent years constructing around exactly these scenarios. By this morning, June 11th, CENTCOM confirmed that the latest round of U.S. strikes had been completed, that Tomahawk cruise missiles had been employed across multiple target sets, and that the Strait of Hormuz remained open to commercial traffic despite Iran's claims. But the strategic picture is more alarming than any single tactical update can capture, because what has happened in the last 24 hours is the effective collapse of the April ceasefire, the transformation of what had been a smoldering conflict into an active, multi-theater shooting war, and the introduction of commercial shipping, oil tankers, cargo vessels, the lifeblood of the global economy, as deliberate targets of Iranian military force. The World Food Programme's acting executive director, Carl Skau, warned this morning that the ripple effects of the Iran war were already increasing the risks of acute hunger for millions of people worldwide, citing soaring energy prices driven by the prolonged Strait disruption, and the EIA confirmed that global oil demand in 2026 had fallen by 1.1 million barrels per day compared to last year, as the conflict choked supply chains, with recovery not expected until 2027 at the earliest. Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian responded to American strikes by calling threats against critical infrastructure a sign of helplessness and vowing that Iran will remain steadfast in the face of any pressure or threat, while Iran's foreign minister declared that our powerful armed forces will leave no attack or threat unanswered, language of defiance that signals Tehran is committed to continuing this exchange regardless of the cost, gambling that American domestic political pressure over soaring gas prices and the economic fallout of a prolonged Gulf War will eventually force Washington to negotiate on terms Tehran can accept. Trump, for his part, appeared to oscillate wildly across the same day, first telling Fox News that Iran had asked him to stop the bombing, then turning around and complaining that Tehran was taking too long to negotiate a deal, and warning they would pay the price, saying all Iran had to do was start signing a paper. A rhetorical whiplash that reflects the genuine diplomatic tension inside the White House between those pushing for a negotiated resolution and those like Hegseth who believe only continued military pressure will produce the outcome America wants. And none of this is happening in a vacuum. The United Nations Nuclear Watchdog Board has demanded urgent Iranian cooperation and access to nuclear sites. The peace talks in Pakistan that had offered a flicker of hope in April have gone nowhere, and the naval blockade of Iran that America has maintained since April 13th is being tested by these escalating IRGC retaliatory strikes at every hour of every day. This is not a contained regional skirmish anymore. This is the largest and most dangerous American military engagement in the Middle East since the 2003 invasion of Iraq, with 3 carrier strike groups operating in the region, with F-35s and B-2 bombers in the theater, with Tomahawk missiles flying daily, with IRGC forces targeting American bases across 4 countries, with commercial shipping under direct military attack, with global food security deteriorating, with oil prices elevated above levels that are causing real economic pain for ordinary American families, and no clear diplomatic off-ramp visible as both sides dig deeper into an escalatory spiral that neither appears to know how to exit. And the next 24 hours will determine whether the attacks on those oil tankers represent a temporary Iranian lunge designed to extract leverage in negotiations, or the beginning of a sustained campaign to shut down the world's most critical waterway by force. Because if Iran makes that Strait of Hormuz closure stick even for 72 hours, the economic consequences for the global economy will be catastrophic in ways that make everything that has happened so far look like a prelude. Stay with this channel because this story is moving fast. The situation is at its most dangerous point since February 28th, and every hour brings developments that will reshape what happens next.